Let's take a breath together. Thank you. One of the things that Ernest Holmes taught me is that science of mind is not about replacing anything. And so these old gospel songs that anchor us back to a Christian religion, we don't have to get rid of them. I know some communities that literally won't even use the word God, right? And I invite you to consider, if you're in that camp, that that's about your woundedness more than it's about the word God. It's about how you carry that word, right? Which is really kind of how all of this works in this human realm, right? Because you can have 10 people experiencing the exact same event, and they will each have a different experience. So it's not the event that drives our experience. It's what we tell ourselves about the event that drives our experience. So how in the world does that fit into the 8th step? Make direct amends to such people wherever possible. Because perception drives everything about that step. Perception about whether or not they actually deserve an amend. Right? Because typically, woundedness happens in relationship. I'm hard-pressed to imagine any experience of woundedness that could even possibly happen in a vacuum. I don't see how it could. It's in relationship to something. It might be in relationship to a tree, but it's in relationship to something. And so when we understand that our woundedness, our sense of woundedness, our experience of woundedness comes from relationship, it might make it a little easier to start wrapping our heads around amends must happen in relationship. Right. We've spent 8 months looking at the law of cause and effect and what we can and cannot control. Right? We've looked at our part in things. We've looked at some uncomfortable factual accuracies about ourselves. And I frame it that way on purpose because it's not the truth of you. It's factual accuracy about stuff you did. Right? That's not the truth of you. You're not your behavior. Nobody is. Right? But some of us have run amok in various degrees, in sundry ways. Some of us have run amok in ways that nobody knows. And we're not about to tell them. And that's okay. There's nothing about this practice that encourages any of us to go out and invest $500 in a billboard so that we can post our most egregious mistakes to the general public. Not at all. What's important is that we own them first, which is everything we've done up until now. Even last month, making the list of all persons we had harmed. That's still 100% at home, right? I'm still not engaging with anybody that I've harmed yet. This month moves the needle. This month invites us to actually connect with people and make amends. So what does an amend actually mean? And how is it different than an apology? Right? An apology, that's easy. And quite frankly, lazy. I'm sorry I did that. What's changed? What's changed? I have not done anything to correct the harm that I did. I'm sorry I stole money from your pocketbook. I'm not giving it back, but I'm real sorry I stole it. The amend is giving it back. The amend is asking the other person, what do you need to make this right? A simple apology is not about healing anything. It's about letting yourself off the hook. Reverend Dr. John Waterhouse, founding minister of Asheville Center for Spiritual Living, wrote a book, No More Apologies. And the premise of it is when we say I'm sorry, we let ourselves off the hook and we don't actually take responsibility. Right? Because I can say, I'm sorry I did that, but I don't ever take responsibility for what it meant to do it. And the other part of it is, why are we continuously affirming, I'm sorry? I'm not a sorry person. I'm not sorry. I wish I had slowed down and done that differently. I recognize that when I just blurted out that, I saw the look on your face change. I felt the energy shift, and I'm aware that there was some woundedness that happened. And I own that. What do you need from me to make it right? Whole different conversation than I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. Which is, we don't get how arrogant that statement is. You don't have the ability to hurt my feelings. So why are you apologizing for something you can't even do? I may have hurt feelings about something you did, but folks, let's get clear. We can't make each other feel anything unless we're touching one another. You can make me feel tactile, but you cannot make my emotions do anything. I'm the only one that can do that. You can't make me think anything. I'm the only one that can do that. And yet we apologize for making somebody else feel something that we assume they felt. We don't even know because we don't take the time to ask. Fits right into this. Why are we hesitant to question? A couple of reasons. Not the least of which we don't want to know. We genuinely don't care what other people think. Some of us. Some of us are so busy working for a world that works for me, no matter what it does for you, that I could care less what you think. I'm not going to ask because I really don't want to know. The other sad truth is that questions are used. Questions are used to gaslight us. Questions are used as a diving board to tell us how stupid we are, how little we know, how wrong we are. Happens all the time. People set us up by asking us questions. And then, without even responding to our actual answer, they're only using it as a diving board to tell you what they think. It would be more respectful. If you're one of those people, it's way more respectful to just say, I'm going to tell you what I think. Are you willing to listen? That's way more respectful than asking someone a question that has no basis in your genuine interest in them, only to use it as a diving board to talk about you. You know, it's that place that comedians talk about, okay, enough about me, let's talk about me. Because that's what we do. We feign interest in one another, and yet we bring the focus back to ourselves over and over again. Why do we do that? Because we are so desperate to be seen. Level the playing field. Perhaps everybody else is too. Perhaps if we will model curiosity, someone else will be curious about us. If you're in relationship, not just intimate relationship, but any relationship, with somebody who uses questions to set you up. My father-in-law taught me how to do this, because he was one of those folks. He'd ask you a question just so he could tell you what he thought. And I caught on pretty quickly. And so he'd ask me a question, and I said, well, Pops, you ask the question, you answer it first. Silence. He didn't know what to do with that. Changed the whole game. This man that had very little interaction with me to that point suddenly softened and deepened. And we began to actually have a relationship. Now, I have no idea what went on in his head. But what I know is that visibly it caught him off guard. Right? We operate out of such habit, and oftentimes unconscious habit, we don't even realize we're doing it. And so when it was put back to him great question, I can't wait to hear your answer. I mean, I flipped it on him in lots of different ways. He stopped asking questions. But then I would ask him questions. And I could ask him the same question he asked, the same one he invited me into, in a different way. And he would actually engage to answer it. And so what I learned from him is that his pattern was a learned pattern for him too. He wasn't really intentionally trying to set me up. That's the only way he knew to get his voice in the room. And when I actually would ask him what he thought about things, he had lots of thoughts and lots of wisdom to share. And when it got to the point where it was a little too close to his emotions, he would always say, "Don't make me go deep, Rev. Don't make me go deep." And that was Pop saying, "I ain't talking about that." Right? And so we get to learn from one another if we're willing to play in the question. And I invite you to play in the question from the perspective of, unless you're like an engineer and you need accuracy so the building doesn't fall down, let there be 1,000,000 correct answers. Let there be 1,000,000 correct answers. Because mostly that's where we meet in questions anyway. What do you think? There can't be one right answer for that. Because we think lots of things. And I don't know about you, but my thoughts change. Right? When we make amends, questioning is a big part of it. See, because we might want to enter the process of amends with an idea that is comfortable for us, that would make it right. Right? I stole $5,000. Somewhere in my mind says, if I just take you out for a really nice dinner, we'll be square. So I don't ever ask you what will make it right for you. A true amends is that you ask that person. You own, this is what I did. What do you need to make it right? Because an amends comes from the word mend. To mend, to heal, to repair. We don't get to decide what will repair it for the person that was wounded. They do. They get to decide. We get to ask the question if we're willing to. The second part of that gets a little tricky. May direct amends except when to do so would injure them or others. The example that frequently comes up is a couple that have been married for 30 years, and in somebody's earlier discretions, they had some level of affair. They've been married happily for 30 years. Is it making an amend to disclose that 30 years after the fact? That's a tough one. If I am doing it to relieve the discomfort of my own soul at somebody else's expense, that is not an amend. That is creating another amend to make. An amends is about healing something we've done, not about relieving our internal discomfort about having done it. It's about the other person. The fourth and fifth step are about relieving your stuff. This step is about healing your relationship. It is about giving the other person an opportunity to heal. It is about mending their wound, not yours. You get freedom from it. Right? And I think about the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. To accept them. Some things you can't change. Some things you just cannot fix. Accept the things I can. And the wisdom to know the difference. This step demands integrity at a deep, deep level. Because it demands that we be absolutely honest with ourselves, about ourselves, and about what's motivating us to even do an amends. It also means we have to be in integrity about not necessarily letting ourselves off the hook by that little phrase, except when to do so would injure them or others. Aren't I an other? Aren't I an other? If I do this amends, it's going to hurt me. Oh, well. And people have all kinds of different thoughts on that. I've never made an amends that felt good while I was making it. Never. Felt good afterwards. But it didn't feel good when I was doing it. Because I got to wrestle with all of the things going on in my head. All of the name calling, all of the self-critic narrative about what a piece of garbage I was that I did this stuff in the first place. It heals at way more than one level. Okay? We're going to talk next week from the Jewish perspective of making a much larger amend called tikkun olam, which is a social amends. Because there are some things we need to make amends for that involve the whole of creation. Beliefs that we have held that have impacted the wholeness right? Thoughts that we have held that wound the whole body of creation. It's a brilliant practice in Judaism. And so we will talk about that next week. This week I invite you, spend some time with the study guide. It's real simple. It just walks you through, what does an amends mean to you? I've shared what it means to me. What does it mean to you? You could have a whole different idea. How is an amend different from an apology? What does whenever possible mean to you? Right? They're not standing in front of me. It's not possible. In what situations or circumstances would a direct amend be impossible? What does injure mean to you? How might making a direct amend injure? What is your understanding of them or others? And then thinking about the people on your step 8 list, what comes up for you when you think about making direct amends to them? It's one thing to put them on a list. It's a whole nother to imagine yourself actually making the amends. What comes up? It just gives you information about what's operating in you. There are no right or wrong answers. They're just yours. And you could do this worksheet every day and come up with different answers every day. So let yourself do that. Just let yourself explore what's going on inside your head. In terms of questions, if you feel set up, you get to say, feeling a little set up by that question, am I? You get to ask your own question. Keep it in I statements. That's the key. You're setting me up. Well, you don't know that for fact. That may not be their intention. It's way more powerful. I feel set up by that question. Am I being set up? I don't know how to answer that question. I have a question for you because I don't understand something. Is it okay if I ask it? Because some people are so wounded by being set up by other people with questions, they can't even hear a question without being defensive. Right? And so understand it from both sides. Anything like that is all coming from a wound. And if we love each other, if we will meet each other in that place of love, all wounds get healed. I mean, I can't stress enough, as Maya Angelou said in this incredible writing, when we come to it, we must confess that we are the possible. We are the miraculous, the true wonder of this world. That is when, and only when, we come to it. Let's take this into prayer. I recognize one power, one complete, whole, perfect substance that is everywhere present, that is expressing itself as life, seen and unseen, known and unknown, formed and unformed, by whatever name we call it. It is all there is. It already is infinite possibility. And it is expressing as me, as all of life. So what is true of one expression of the infinite must be true of every expression. And so as I know my magnificence, I know all magnificence. As I know the wholeness In one, I know the wholeness within the whole body. One. No oppositional power. In one. And so I claim and affirm that as I give forgiveness, I receive grace. As I give grace, I receive forgiveness. The reciprocity, the cycle, different sides of the same coin. And so as I make amends, I heal. And as I heal, I make amends. And I allow amends. I make space for others to heal in my presence, no matter what. Nothing so egregious that I cannot and will not extend grace. And what I speak for myself, I speak for all of life. Because there's only one of us here. It can't be any other way. So I simply claim and affirm the truth of being revealing itself. And I celebrate that simple acknowledgement makes it so. That the activity of law, the doer of creation, simply receives that, immediately acts upon it, and makes it so. In ways that confound my human mind, and yet are perfect in the unfoldment of life. And so I trust the activity of law, and I let go of any need to control, any need to contrive, any need to have a my way. And instead, I lean into the way. And I let go. Let go of anything that would impede the full experience of fulfillment. I let it go. Ashe. Shalom. Aho. Amen. Amen. And so it is. Namaste.